Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm going to talk about miners, just going to do a little bit of a pre-live stream session so you guys don't have to request the miners anymore, at least the major ones that I have and a couple that I don't. But this is CleanSpark, weekly chart. What is happening? If you just kind of zoom in terms of what has been happening over the last few months, and if I do a daily chart, it'd be illustrating this a lot better. If you're into the whole head and shoulder type pattern, this is a very classic inverted head and shoulder pattern. And we simply just had a breakout. This breakout of this inverted head and shoulder was right at 0.618. And we broke out and we simply had a back test, right? This breakout is happening on high volume. So you know that's probably going to be a pretty powerful move that's going to have some bullish continuation. And we simply have a back test right here, almost to a few cents off at the 0.618 level right there, right? Very, very classic pattern. This really favors more bullish continuation. Just zooming back out here. A couple other things too on the weekly. If you are looking at a couple other indicators here, let's look at like the cycle bottom over here. There's something called the volume weighted average price, right? VWAP, which you can basically point at any particular pivot. This is a strong pivot here because it's the cycle low. So you point over here, you do a VWAP. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to basically look at the average price of the average holder that started buying right around here to see where price is at currently. If price is above this VWAP line over here, that means that most holders that started buying from here are in profit. And they're in profits, they're less likely to want to sell. As opposed to being underneath of it, that means that they are actually at an unrealized loss, and that might actually incentivize them potentially kind of sell. Right now, we are breaking back above not just the 0.618, which is a very important Fibonacci level, but we're also doing a very, very, very beautiful breakout of the VWAP over there too. Another thing too is we did break above the 0.618, which is previously resistance here. We never really had a proper back test until now. We broke underneath of it, gapped down, and then we basically broke back above, and right now it's the first time that we really have kind of back tested 0.618. All of these are very, very healthy, by the way, right? CleanSpark bear market drops down 2 foot levels, drops down multiple foot levels, pushback 1, drops down 2, pushback 1, drops down 2, right? Bull market, push up 1, come back down here, push through it, come back down here, push through it, come down here, and then push through it again, and now doing a little bit of a back test here. What you're seeing here last time, we got really rejected here at 0.76, and it just wasn't able to kind of push through. And right now, we are building up a lot of energy here. A lot of volume has kind of been coming in. You see this downtrend over here was really on declining volume, right? And right now, the volume has been picking up. This is actually very, very bullish in terms of what may come, right? The couple other things too, if you look at the bull market support band, of CleanSpark, you can clearly see that right around the 0.618, you have found support also at the bull support band almost to the center right there, right? And it has basically been flipped from resistance over here back into support. It has been serving as pretty decent support all the way up, with the exception it did break underneath the bull support band here briefly for about 2 months, which it did again for about 2 months. Next thing you know, once it's able to reclaim it, it's just kind of went up a lot higher as a result. So I think that we're bouncing off a very important Fibonacci level. We're bouncing off of multiple support level. Bull market support band, VWAP from the cycle low, 0.618, inverted head and shoulder pattern, increasing volume. All of those are remarkable things not to ignore. In addition to the bull market support band, you've also bounced very perfectly off the 100-week moving average, where you have flipped it from resistance over here to clearly to support, right? You see how it was from support to resistance, resistance to support. Good things could come. A lot of really beautiful things I'm seeing here. On the monthly chart here, just kind of zoom out here a little bit. On the monthly chart, you see that this last green candle here with increasing price also happened on increasing volume. All these things are very, very promising. 20-month moving average continues to serve as support. You can see how last time we had a hard time breaking above the 0.76 because we're simply way outside the upper Bollinger Band. Now, not so much. Right now, the Bollinger Band is actually right at the 0.76, so I can see that $21.50 is going to probably be a little bit of a magnet there. 0.76 fit level would also be a magnet if you're able to convincingly close a month about the 0.618. The 0.76 is going to be a magnet for price to kind of get up there too. Now, Another thing too was last time you got rejected here, the Ichimoku cloud, for months and months and months at a time. We broke down, backtest, grabbed liquidity, and right now we're challenging the cloud here again. We are not quite above into the cloud yet. We're not quite above the Tenkan yet, but we reclaimed the Kijun. We reclaimed 0.618. A lot of really important things are happening. All these things are happening on increasing volume. So looking at the Super-Ichi, you can see it kind of already broke inside the Super-Ichi already. Right now, price is currently right at the Super-Ichi Tenkan, serving as a little bit of resistance here. But we're trying to really repair a lot of technical damage that has been done over the last 7 or 8 months or so. A lot of things are very, very, very beautiful, and they are doing what they're supposed to do. Now, once you're able to reclaim the monthly Ichimoku, once you're able to break through 0.786, which happens to be the cloud over here, by the way, once you're able to break about 0.786, I think that it goes a lot higher. I think it's going to push through all-time high, and I think it's probably going to go to some of these crazy levels up here, around 1.236 fit level, 1.414 fit level, or even 1.618, depending on how crazy it gets, if it's able to break about the 0.76, right? The actual numbers, the previous cycle high is going to be $42.60. The level above that is going to be $90.62, $160, and $307, right? Any of this could potentially be cycle top. Any of this could potentially be cycle top, depending on how IWM or the Russell 2000, the small cap stocks, how much of a euphoria or bullish sentiment you have, how much of Bitcoin would go up, from here on out. But I do think that it's possible for some of the levels up here. I think probably going to hitting the 1.236 here around $90.62. I think that's going to probably end up getting hit, and that's going to be like about a 6x from here, which is not very little gain. It's a lot of gains from here, right? Yeah, so one more thing I want to show you, and then I'm going to move on to Mara. I just want to spend more time on CleanSpark because I happen to find CleanSpark to actually be quite bullish. I'm going to do again from this low over here, from the all-time low. I'm going to do 360. And I'm going to use the ratio as 1. And you'll see that basically it illustrates exactly what's been happening, right? I'm going to get rid of fit level here to give you a better idea in terms of what you're seeing. It really has a hard time breaking through this arc up here. Like you can see that this arc over here broken through, went to the next arc, got close to back test, didn't really quite, but it was resistance over here, but right now it's starting a support. Trying to push through the arc above, was not able to, got rejected right off the arc. Been trying to break above it multiple times, unable to, got rejected, came back down, made an inverted head and shoulder. And what's happening right now, we broke inside the arc finally, and we're trying to break through the arc. Now I was able to break through the arc. Then the next level you're looking at is maybe this horizontal candle over here around 34, and maybe even 64, or maybe even 110, somewhere around there. So you have all these different levels here, in addition to the cycle high and cycle low Fibonacci retracement level. You also have a lot of these different Gann levels that can potentially serve as resistance, and that could potentially serve as cycle high as well. We'll see. I'm pretty bullish on CleanSpark still. There's really nothing to be like bearish about it. Mara. What can I say? It looks like a big giant cup and handle. The cup looks like an inverted head and shoulder. Breakout, back test the inverted head and shoulder. Looks like it's passing so far. It's been range bound for a whole year. It's been building a lot of energy. This handle is quite long, and looks like we're kind of breaking back above the handle. We're trying to challenge some stuff here above. What we're looking at here in terms of the monthly. On the monthly, you can clearly see that we have bottom off of a trident bottom. These trident bottoms are generally very good bottoms, like over here. Generally a very, very good bottom. Like over here, generally it's a very, very good bottom. You have a trident bottom over here, and price currently pushed about the 0.618, just like what CleanSpark has been doing. And if it is able to close the month about 0.618, it's been building a lot of energy. Previously, we challenged 0.618, but because it was just way outside the upper Bollinger Band, we're not able to. Right now, the upper Bollinger Band is above the 0.618, which allows price to probably gravitate to 0.786. The 0.786 also a very important level because that's essentially the top of the Ichimoku cloud here on the monthly. Mara is beating CleanSpark in terms of the Ichimoku because it's actually been raising. CleanSpark's underneath the Tenkan here, right? Mara has already reclaimed the Tengen. Mara is also reclaiming 0.618. It wants to go to the cloud, and around 30 bucks, probably going to be resistance. But it's going to push above. It's going to be 0.76, going to be $41.28. After that, some pretty sick all-time high stuff. I think that the cycle probably would end up hitting 1.236, around $181.38, if it's able to break above the monthly cloud here, if it's able to break about the 0.786. Then you're talking about some like all-time high, not all-time high, I guess, because it was not a Bitcoin mining company before, but it was going to break above the cycle high and potentially get to some of these higher targets over here. There's really nothing bearish about this chart because you look at the 2-month Ichimoku. The 2-month Ichimoku cloud is basically showing you that the leading span A here, which is this light green line over here, it's like the immature bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. And you can see that it was perfect resistance here back in the last cycle. Price just couldn't break through, got rejected, and it just came down a lot lower. And right now we've rechallenged the leading span A. We've claimed that from resistance over here clearly to support. Right now we're deep inside the 2-month Ichimoku cloud for the entire year, basically. And because of that, I think price is probably going to end up pushing up higher. It's probably going to push through this top of this 2-month cloud. It's probably going to push through at least to 1.236 level here, given the fact that it's been consolidated sideways over for a very long time, with a lot of wicks down below showing a lot of demand down below. There's really nothing like bearish about this at all. If you're looking at like a lower time frame, you can also see that CleanSpark, didn't really quite claim the weekly Ichimoku quite just yet, but is entering it. Yeah, Mara is pushing through. It's got a bullish engulfing candle over here. The bullish engulfing candle was on huge volume, so it's going to favor bullish continuation. It broke back about the 0.618. It's going to favor further bullish continuation, right? Over here, the entire bull trend over here got exhausted and had to correct for like 8-9 months on low volume, and right now volume has picked up on this uptrend, just like CleanSpark. I think it's going to push to 0.786 and then see whether or not we can break back above that. There's really, like, honestly, there's really nothing that bearish about it. But when a support band has been reclaimed this past week, right? Big giant wick, push for about, big volume, very nice. If you just look at like a daily time frame, there's really nothing bearish because you just came back down, closed this gap over here. I don't think this gap is going to close it on 16. Push back above, back to 0.618, maybe getting ready to go. All of this uptrend here on the daily is also increasing volume. Just a lot of really beautiful things I'm seeing here with Mara. And I just kind of show you some of the high targets here. 181, 325, 637. Do I think it's going to hit 637 or 325? Not necessarily. But if you're able to break about the 0.76, I think we have a chance, right? I think a cycle, if it ends up higher, above the previous cycle high, it's going to be like 181 potentially, right? Which is not, a very little gain. There's a lot of gain going up there if it ends up doing that, right? You're talking about a stock that's been consolidating sideways here for like 2 years. I'm talking about a stock that had reaccumulation here, consolidated sideways here for another year. It can do some pretty crazy stuff when it's ready to go. I'm not going to bet against it, right? So this is Mara. Now, if you're also looking at the weekly chart for Mara, if I turn off the volume, if I get rid of the Fibonacci level, what I'm going to do is to give you an idea in terms of what the market symmetry is doing. Look at it again, clicking at the bottom over here, doing a little bit of a, instead of doing 360, I'm going to do 720. 720 is going to be a very good multiple of 45. I'm going to change the top number to 1. And immediately you can see that this has given some really beautiful market symmetry where the arcs here means something, right? Where the arc over here means something, right? Where the arc over here means something, the arc down here means something, and the arc over here means something. It's been gravitating downwards throughout the arc, and finally we're able to kind of break above the arc here, and we are closing above the arc for 2 weeks in a row. That has not happened in the history of Mara here during the entire downtrend, right? We're finally breaking above the arc here for 2 weeks in a row and have a very nice bullish engulfing candle here. So price probably going to gravitate up towards $34 where he got rejected right off there, exactly to the dot last time. And I think that once we are able to get there, we're able to push through that, then you're talking about some higher prices like 80, 100, 150 something. I think all of these are entirely possible. Now, just to kind of add again back to it, I think that if we're able to break above the 0.776, which is $41.28, then you're talking about the previous cycle high here, which is going to be this arc. Bringing above the arc, these levels up here are possible, right? Bringing about the arc, all these levels up here are possible. So I'm gonna just be cautiously optimistic and see what happens at a 0.76 around $41.28. That's it for Mara. I'm going to talk about the other stuff that are going to be a little bit shorter. You can see that Bitfarms is lagging. It's not quite about the 0.618 like Mara and CleanSpark. Bitfarm is indeed lagging, but it's holding support at 0.5. I'm not going to show that. It's also basically backtesting this whole horizontal zone over here. There's really nothing bearish about it. It's just lagging. Ichimoku Cloud is underneath of it just a little bit, but building a lot of energy trying to push through above. And also, if you try to zoom out here on the monthly chart, you can see that the 20-minute moving average is still very, very nice, possibly sloping. It's probably going to push price up higher. The upper Bollinger Band here initially was trying to push about the 0.618. Very similar story to the other one, right? But the upper Bollinger Band was simply not expanded quite just yet. Right now, the upper Bollinger Band is above that. Right now, the upper Bollinger Band is around $3.07, allowing price to potentially push for 0.618 this time, right? You have to let these kind of technicals work out. 20-minute moving average, flip from resistance to support, right? If you're going back to the weekly here, the same tale can be said about the 100 week moving average. It was support here, didn't really even use it as resistance, you just kind of, didn't even touch it, came back down, but right now you also have a back test of the 100 week moving average. Very, very similar story with all these different minor stocks. There's really nothing to be scared about it. If it's able to break about 0.618, then 0.786. What is 0.786? Why is it important at $5? Well, look at Ichimoku Cloud. It's the top of Ichimoku Cloud over here. You see the whole, there are a lot of similarities between these miners, and that even though there's going to be some narratives that one miner is going to be better than another, you can talk about all these fundamentals. To me, it doesn't really matter. I'm looking at liquidity. I'm looking at money flow. I also see a bunch of wicks down here, by the way, which means that there's a lot of demand down here. It's probably going to push back to the 0.618 here given due time, but it's just not ready yet. It's just lagging, but there's nothing wrong with it. As far as I'm concerned, if you're also doing a Gann square here, it kind of give you a little bit more market symmetry. Let's look at the bottom over here. I'm going to draw a Gann square, extend it all the way out, and this one I'm going to make 360 and 0.5. 0.05 actually. You can see that it gives great market symmetry, where the arc here and the angle here means something, right? Gravitate down here to the arc, push through the arc up here on huge volume, and since then it's just kind of going sideways here for a while. You are starting to have some volume here picking up, trying to push through this arc, unable to do so far. You have huge volume over here, which basically tells me I think something big could be happening for Bitfarms. And I think that once we're able to push through this arc, then you're going to go and challenge the previous, you're going to challenge the previous all-time high here after it's able to challenge the 0.786, which is around $5, right? After we, basically, $3, if it's able to break through $3, $5, if it's able to break through $5, some all-time high stuff here. There's a potential for Bitfarms to close if this whole thing works out. If Bitcoin does well, if small cap does well, if overall market does well, then there's a potential for Bitfarms to hit the 1.236 level here around $21.69. Possible. Or it could end the cycle around anywhere between there and down here. I wouldn't keep my hopes up for the 20x and 40x stuff up here, but I think that 1.236 around $21.69 is potentially attainable, right? That is Bitfarms. I'm not going to talk too much more about it. CIFR, what is CIFR doing? Is trying to already break above the 0.786, just unable to do so, right? Had a little bit of a false breakout here 2 weeks ago, got rejected. So far, I've been challenging it one more time, just not able to break about the $7 mark, and right now we're still underneath resistance. Is this something that you need to worry about? Not really. It's above the cloud, and right now it looks like we're having the weekly bullish cross over here again, and looks like we're probably going to build up a lot more energy trying to push through above. It's already way about the support band. There's really nothing scary about it. Now I'm going to go back here to the monthly or kind of illustrate in terms of telling you what happened. It's trying to break above the 0.786 here last time, but it was simply just way about the upper Bollinger Band. The upper Bollinger Band hasn't a chance to really expand. Right now you have the expansion of upper Bollinger Band and lower Bollinger Band. This is usually a start of something more impulsive. when even the lower Bollinger Band is expanding, the 20-month moving average has served as very beautiful support, right? It's found some beautiful support here last month, right at the 0.618. It's trying to push through the 0.786. If it's able to push through the 0.786, then you're talking about some higher levels up here, right? Previous all-time high, $15. Some of these FIP levels up here above, right? $37, $71, $151. I don't think it has to hit all of these levels up here, but I think the cycle is probably going to go to 1.236, which is $36.82. I think it's probably going to hit, but I don't know what's going to happen, right? And these are all just speculation. Going back to the weekly chart to kind of show you some market symmetry here in terms of what I mean by I think things are, kind of serving what they need to serve, technically speaking. Over here, I'm going to do 360. I'm going to do 360 here. I'm going to do that 0.1. And you can see that just by doing that, you have some really beautiful market symmetry. Things have been stuck between these two arcs here for quite some time. We finally broke through this arc over here on huge volume. And right now, what is it doing this week? This week is just basically back testing that horizontal can level right there, almost to the dollar, right? Very, very nice. I like the whole setup here. If you're able to break through and back test and held, then you're talking about potentially grabbing it up to the arcs up here and potentially even the arc above, even higher. It's possible, right? I just want to kind of let you know that I'm bullish on all these stocks. IREN, what's IREN doing? Let's kind of take a bird's eye view, if you will. Look at the monthly. There's nothing bearish about IREN. The only issue was, again, the same theme, right? It's already broke about the 0.618. It's trying to challenge the 0.786. If it breaks about the 0.786, then you're talking about some potential higher, like all-time high stuff. But it's just simply not there yet, right? Some of the targets above, maybe $62, $110, maybe even $220 if it goes crazy. But I'm not going to let these kind of crazy targets here distract me. I just want to break about the 0.786 so I can potentially go to the all-time high and potentially hit some of the levels up here when things get irrational. Why hasn't it been able to break through? Because when it's a challenge to 0.786 here a few months ago, the Bollinger Band still hasn't expanded enough yet. Now the monthly Bollinger Band is expanding, allowing the price to gravitate up towards the 0.786 again and challenge it again. But it just needs to kind of take its time. That's all. There's really, again, nothing really too bearish about this chart. It's reclaiming the Bollinger support band from resistance over the last couple months back to support, right? And you got a very, very nice hammer bottom-ish kind of candle over here. Nothing really bearish about this. The other thing, too, I can show you some market symmetry here. Again, I have a little bit of time, so I'm going to do, again, here from the bottom all the way up. And I'm going to do 360 and 360 and 0.5 to see whether or not I see any beautiful market symmetry. I think this market symmetry was very apparent over here earlier in the cycle. Got rejected here, the arc, push through the arc, back tested the arc, pass. We're going to go back to the arc here above. You know what the arc of the level, let me see here, previous all-time high to the low is right around the 0.786. If we ever push through and get to the arc, we would break above the 0.786, challenge the arc here. If it's able to hold this, if it's able to break through the arc, then you're talking about some all-time high stuff, right? Which were the levels I was just kind of talking to you about. But I think the next step is probably end up gravitating towards the arc here. So I would not be surprised in Q4 or Q1, you're going to see $16, $18 IREN, maybe even higher to this level here around $22 and 50 cents somewhere around there. But it could potentially continue to challenge higher highs here. Higher highs and higher lows, this is a bull trend. Anybody who's really upset about IREN and asked me about why IREN is not pumping, I don't know what else to say to you. It's a bull trend. Here is TeraWulf. What is TeraWulf doing? It is basically push through the 0.382, back test the 0.382 almost perfectly, and right now it's grinding up to the 0.618, having a hard time breaking through so far. Can you blame that? No. It's a very important resistance level, previously served as support. Now it's resistance. You need time and you need energy to break through, right? On top of that, you've also had a little bit overextension because price, and Terra was probably one of the most bullish monthly chart here, because price is way above the upper Bollinger Band here, and it's at resistance. I don't know what TeraWulf's going to do. Is it going to end up consolidating here for a couple months before breaking up? Entirely possible. It could lag behind Bitcoin because a lot of gains while Bitcoin is doing nothing sideways. TeraWulf was just ripping from 0.8382 all the way up here to 0.618, right? But it's a bull trend because Bollinger Band is now fully expanded. Some of the higher targets, if it's able to push through, then you're talking about $17 Wolf, right? If you're able to push through $17, one step at a time, right? But you're able to push through $17, then some of the craziest stuff up here, previous all-time high, or even like $124 Wolf, all is, I suppose, is possible, right? The trend is favorable for that to happen, but I don't want to be too crazy. I think we're going to need to challenge 0.618 here. We're way over the upper Bollinger Band here, so it's a little bit worrisome. But it's able to push through that, then you're talking about 0.786, which is $17.12, and then maybe it's a previous all-time high. It looks very, very decent. There's really nothing bearish about TeraWulf. Again, if you want to talk about market symmetry, I can draw a quick GAN here, kind of give you an idea in terms of what's happening with it. Could draw from this low over here. I'm going to do 360 and 0.1. 360 is going to go all the way out to here, and then we're going to do 0.1 to see whether or not we get any good market symmetry. Get rid of this fib level here. You can see something very, very bullish for TeraWulf because it basically is just challenging from arc to arc. It's been holding this angle here almost perfectly. It's been challenging from arc to arc, break through this arc, back test the arc here, and it's go through this arc over here too, right? On high volume. This is a huge volume breakout. This is real. Come back down, back test the horizontal line here. Would it be a problem if it comes back and back test this arc over here? No, not at all. Even if it back tests the arc down here, it would still be a bullish stock. And if you're able to pass the back test down here with this huge volume breakout, if you're able to really get through this like whole zone over there, which is going to be a very good zone of support, by the way, then you're talking about, double digit, it's TeraWulf, potentially even up, at higher levels, but we'll get there when we get there. Overall, higher high, higher lows. Anybody who's complaining about TeraWulf, like they just recently entered, they're tourists, and they're scared, about any potential volatility. I don't care. It's a bull trend. It looks bullish to me. BTBT, I do have a position. I did end up starting a position here, and I did end up adding more to it. The reason why I feel bullish is not just because of the chart. The chart looks bullish to me, but also because they stake a lot of Ethereum, and I'm bullish on Ethereum. So I think this might end up being an Ethereum play. Basically, it's been hovering around 0.382. It looks like it's past it. It looks like it's trying to get to 0.618 here. The thing is we're trying to break above the 0.5 here. We've closed two weeks in a row about the 0.5 fib level here. So I think the next level, if it's able to hold here next week, we gravitate up to $6.81. That would be the most logical thing for me to see, right? You also have been riding the brown support band on the way up here. And as you're going up, during this whole uptrend over here is on increasing volume. So again, there's really nothing too entirely bearish about BTBT. And I think it's just building a lot of energy over here. This accumulation, this is reaccumulation. And I think that price is probably going to end up pushing through after it challenges the 0.618, $6.8, $13.6 is going to be the 0.786. And if you're able to break through all of this stuff, it could challenge the previous all-time high, which is $33. After that, if it goes crazy, I'm not sure if it will or not, because that's a crazy 20x from where it is at right now, would be at 1.236, which is $87.48. Again, I don't know whether or not it's going to get there, but I think all of these potential levels that I was showing you here could potentially be the cycle top. We'll see where it gets to. I really don't know. Okay, CORZ. I don't have a good chart on CORZ. The reason why is because they went bankrupt and they just came back as a new stock. So I don't really have a whole lot of price history here. I can try to draw a GAN level based on is all-time low here, which again is not going to be a lot of history here. But let's try it. I'm going to do 180 and I'm going to do 1 here. See if it gives me any market symmetry. The answer is some, but not beautiful, but some, right? Maybe it's kind of breaking above this level over here. Maybe it's going to grab it up here to the arc here. but I just don't have a whole lot of history to kind of chart. 0.5 might give me a little bit of a different idea where this arc and the horizontal line over here has been serving as pretty decent resistance, and this angle over here has been serving as really good support on the way up. So we're getting a little bit closer resistance here. Volume has been decreasing unlike the other miners. So like, there's a possibility CORZ can get up to around $20 or even $22, $23. And this is a resistance zone up here. It might end up hovering around here for a little bit while the other miners start to run, right? Just something to think about. RIOT. I'm now turning bullish on RIOT. The reason why is because it broke through 0.382 and it back tested it, and all this is happening on increasing volume during this breakout. So that is a change of behavior for the stock. Because of that, I'm now bullish on RIOT. There's also another reason why I'm bullish on RIOT is because if you're looking at the higher time frame here, again, increasing volume, right? You're looking at Bollinger Band, you have a little bit of Bollinger Band squeeze here on the monthly, and this is also happening with price reclaiming the rising 20-month moving average from resistance here to support. Support broke down, resistance, back into potentially back into support, right? Price went really impulsive to even trying to get up to the upper Bollinger Band over here, but simply just wasn't able to touch it. It's a laggard, but the volume is coming back, and I think that RIOT is probably going to do okay this cycle. I don't know whether or not it's going to, be that bullish compared to the other miners in terms of challenging his previous all-time high. You can see that it really has been trying to, let me see. If you look at the weekly, it's going to give you a little bit of a different feel, right? Basically, it just pushed through, trying to, got rejected here at 0.5, came back and back to 0.382, almost held very, very, very well, right? On the monthly here, we like to see the month close about the 0.382 on increasing volume. If it is, then the next stop is going to challenge the 0.618 here, around $23.44. If they were to break above, the next level is 0.786, about $40. If it's able to break $40, if it's able to break through a thick Ichimoku cloud over here on the monthly, then we can talk about previous all-time high. Then we talk about higher targets, like the 1.236 here around $169. But there's a lot of resistance that it needs to push through, that the other miners are a lot closer to these resistance than RIOT, right? RIOT is trying, but it's just simply lagging. Volume is coming back though, so maybe potentially a little bit of a late cycle performer. I don't know, but I'm not bearish on RIOT anymore at this point. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Even on the weekly, Ichimoku has been trying to reclaim the Ichimoku, is inside Ichimoku cloud now. Is back testing 0.382, which is coincidentally right around the Tenkan Kijun, is basically passing a test. Very nice wick here, good demand. I think RIOT is going to do okay this cycle. How high does it go? I do not know, okay? But it's just underneath a lot more resistance than the other ones. I'm going to end with two here. One is HUD8. HUD8 is hitting the 0.618 resistance here. So not as bullish as CleanSpark, not as bullish as Mara, but more, not as bullish as CIFR, IREN, but it's more bullish than some of the other miners that you're looking at, right? It is at resistance. The entire uptrend here is on increasing volume, but it's at resistance here. So I think we're getting to the point where maybe we should just kind of take a step back here. It's also hitting resistance here, this resistance zone here, previous support here, turn resistance, right? So I'm going to take a step back here and saying, yeah, I'm not sure whether or not this is a good spot to buy HUD, especially after this big giant run for the last couple months, already from like $8 to like $28. Probably we need to kind of take a little bit of a break, maybe back test some of the horizontal zone down here around 20 before running further. But who knows? I mean, like, it doesn't have to do what I want it to do. Right now, it's just hitting the 0.618 here pretty strong, right, as resistance. So we'll see what happens. Again, very similar to the other miners. The 0.786 is going to be the top of the monthly Ichimoku cloud. And I think that you're already kind of hitting some resistance zone over here at 0.618, $26. Bottom of the cloud here depends on where it hit low 30s. And the top of the Ichimoku cloud here around 42 or 43, which is also 0.618. A lot of similarities between this and the other ones. If you buy here at resistance, who knows, maybe it comes back at 20% or something like that. It could really hurt you, but it doesn't have to. I mean, it could just push through with increasing volume. I never want to bet against the trend. If I was in this, I'd probably just keep holding, but I probably wouldn't buy now, I guess is my point. Where are some of the targets that it can go to? If it pushed through the monthly Ichimoku cloud, It pushes through these 0.786 around $43 that you're talking about previous high here, previous all-time high around $83, and potentially end the cycle around 170 or 293, depending on how Bitcoin goes, depending on how the stock market goes, right? All these things are going to depend on how euphoric the sentiment could be. Anyway, one last one. I'm going to end the show here. HIVE, H-I-V-E, HIVE. Right now we're underneath the 0.382, so this is even lagging behind a lot of things, right? Even RIOT has reclaimed more or less the 0.382. HIVE is still behind, but I think it's probably going to push through because of this increasing volume here. It's probably going to push through and hit the 0.618, 0.786, and then see what it can do after that. But you're lagging behind a little bit. You have to push to 0.382, 0.618, 0.782 before even talking about previous all-time high. So yeah, we'll just take it one step at a time here. On the weekly here, is reclaiming the Ichimoku cloud, just like what RIOT is doing. So yeah, all of these miners are doing more or less very, very similar things, but I think they're just turning more and more bullish. That's the bottom line. Yeah, been 35 minutes. I'm done talking about miners. Just want to go through a little bit more in detail, talking about the targets, talking about trend, talking about what I think might happen next, talking about volume, talking about everything else. Hope it's not too long a video for you. Hope you enjoy it. Take care. Bye.